Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Caithness Amateur Dram Antique Society tasting. And tonight I'm going to do a tasting of a new distillery, uh, four of the whiskies, and it's the Holyrood Distillery. Holyrood Distillery is situated in the heart of Edinburgh near Holyrood Park, and it took up residence in a building that was once a railway goods shed and was founded in 2018 by David Robertson, the former master distiller at the Macallan, alongside Rob and Kelly Carpenter, co-founders of the Canadian branch of the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. Holyrood Distillery opened its doors in 2019, becoming the first single malt distillery in Edinburgh since 1925. The rest of the distillery's team is a host of individuals who did not receive a traditional academic training in brewing and distilling. Instead, they've honed their skills through hands-on experience at other distilleries. They include a former landscape gardener, taekwondo instructor, bartender, and students of chemistry or even medieval history. And these diverse backgrounds seem as varied as the flavours that the team creates. And this diversity is reflected in Holyrood's experimental ethos. This distillery is focused on spirits experimentation on a scale rarely seen in the industry. Nearly 100 different recipes are tested each year. Unconventional yeasts are borrowed from sherry, tequila, and even champagne, while different heirloom barley varieties are explored. They also experiment with varying fermentation times and are really working at the limits to what Scotch whisky they can produce. Alongside whisky, the site also produces gin and rum. For the whisky, their production methods encompass experimentation with different yeasts, grains, fermentation times, and distillation techniques. Holyrood Distillery also offers guided experimental tours, a visitors bar with views of Holyrood Park, and a spirits and gift shop. So we're going to do four whiskies tonight. We've got Holyrood Embra, EMBRA, bottled at 43.6%. We've got Holyrood Single Cask, bottled at 61.6%. Holyrood Arrival, bottled at 46.1%. And Holyrood Ambir, bottled at 49.8%. So first up, the Holyrood Embra. So this is the second release of Holyrood Single Malt, and it's the Edinburgh Distillery's first release of peated whisky. It was aged in a combination of casks, predominantly first fill bourbon, some from peated quarter casks from Islay, as well as a small portion of virgin American oak. The bottle carries an interesting label design, which was based on a lino cut inspired by images of St. Leonard, the patron saint of barrel makers, and the distillery's location. So let's see, it's quite pale straw coloured. All of these are non-chill filtered and natural colour. And this one's a sort of pale straw colour. And this one is at 43.6%. 6.6%. And you definitely get the bonfire embers and a sort of flamed orange peel. Some salted caramel and toasted nuts. It's quite a light and very controlled peat. And it's coated in fudge, sponge cake, apple crumble, Mirabelle plums, green gages, and it's got some herbal and vanilla touches. There's a hint of iodine, some gravel. It's quite earthy, but also very delicate, and hints of butterscotch. It's slightly waxy, but it's a little shy in the glass. Try the mouth. And it's got sort of a milk chocolate chip bar. There's some floral honey, warming citrus, apple peel, tinned apricot, and a sort of peppery spice. It's got quite a velvety mouth. It's well made. It's beautifully made whiskey. It is a little light, sort of white yogurt, and the pepper rises. It's lovely and creamy, and it's got some lively spices: chili, ginger, cinnamon, and the smoke becomes thicker, veering towards a sort of burning wood, with white fruit, apple, pear, peach, lemon zest, acacia honey, custard. Malted biscuits, hazelnut cream. The mineral vein is always present. The balsamic one is more muted, with some tannic and woody notes along the length. And the finish is long, with wisps of wood smoke. Touch vegetal, there's slight bitterness. It's long but not explosive. Oak bark and leaves, some forest notes, acorns, pine cones, limestone and gypsum, and there's a sort of mint leaf, coconut cream element here too. I'm going to try a few drops of water to this. Probably a bit early for Scotch mist yet, but And it becomes fruitier, and you get that distinct freshness of youth. Lots of pear juice, coconut, pineapple, dried apricot. And there's sort of balsamic and menthol streak there too. You get custard, vanilla, and toffee. With water, the peat becomes strongly mineral with even some coastal vagueness there. There is smoke evident, but it's slight. Try the mouth. And with water, it's big, smooth smoke, sweet burnt rubber. It flutters across the palate, creamy and toffeed. And there's a nice bit of spice alongside vanilla bean ice cream. Well, water shortens the finish a bit. You get toasted nuts, cooked pear, some dull embers, mineral and earthy peat, and malt. And once it starts going, you get a little grassy bitterness coming into play. It's a pleasant enough whiskey, possibly one to have before a meal or any strong flavoured foods. It's very well done overall, but it is still young. And I think it probably, at this age, lacks a bit of personality, but very nice. I'm going to cleanse my palate now with a Nairn's finely milled oatcake. So next up, we have Holyrood Single Cask, number 24, bottled at 46.1%. Sorry, this one's been bottled at 61.6%. Sorry. Holyrood Single Cask, number 24, 61.6% ABV. And this is a single malt made from heavily peated barley, with the peat coming from the Highlands. And it's been fermented with Nottingham ale yeast, as well as DY502 and DY379 distillers yeast. It was aged in a single bourbon barrel and then filled into 222 bottles at 61.6% without chill filtration or any added colour. So there's nice tears on this one. And again, you get that sort of light smoke. So it's heavily peated, but it's a sort of smoky, earthy character of burnt driftwood and seaside bonfires, with a warm wave of vanilla. And there's some crisp notes of green apples and pears in the background. We'll try them out. And it's sweet orchard fruits balanced by salted crackers. And there's gentle notes of honey and subtle spice. And the coastal influences from the nose carries through. And there's a slightly peppery heat that gradually gives way to smoky barbecue notes. It's got a nice mouthfeel, this. Quite oily. And the finish is long and evolving. Robust smoke and woodiness, like fresh sawdust from a workshop. And the final notes are dry and slightly tannic, leaving a faint hint of seaside smoke. I'll try 5 drops of water in this. Actually, I added 8 because it is quite a high ABV on this to start with. So 8 drops should take it down to low 50s. And now I get primarily pear juice. It's quite sweet, but I'm struggling to identify any other aromas here. I'm trying them out. And the mouthfeel is pleasant, and there's still a bit of chew in it. Taste is primarily sweet, which eventually gives way to a bitter chocolate note. And there's a hint of chili there too. We'll try the finish. It's a long finish. The end note is somewhere between bitter chocolate and a slightly chemical paint stripper vibe. So this is a tribute to the alchemy of whiskey making. It starts as quite a sweet dram before finishing as quite bitter, almost chili-like. It's quite difficult to classify it. Light citrus fruit aromas, bitter substances reminiscent of medicine, light honey aromas. However, then it develops into a delicate floral Parma violets and fruity dram with some complexity for its youth, with a hint of mint on the finish. I like this. So we'll cleanse your palate again. So, third dram tonight is the Holyrood Arrival, bottled at 46.1% ABV. And this is the inaugural single malt whiskey from the distillery. The Arrival represents the foundation of more traditional methods by Holyrood standards. It's made from malt provided by Chris Maltings, then fermented for 104 hours using two strains of distiller's yeast, DY379 and DY502. The spirit was matured in first fill bourbon casks before being split and re-racked into a combination of Pedro Jimenez and Oloroso sherry casks, along with some rum barriques. The age isn't disclosed on the label, but I'm being told that this is a 3-year-old single malt. It's a little darker than the first two, which, you know, from a sherry cask and rum barrique, we would anticipate that. And it's got lovely tears on it. And initially there's some diluted summer fruit squash. There's a hint of Paxaret, lemon balm, and watered down apple juice. And there's a rich rye bread aroma in the glass, and the sweetness of sultana raisins. Then you get more glazed buns, caramel, and toasted coconut flakes. There's some lightly resinous notes, along with star anise. The bouquet mostly revolves around the sort of distinct spiced breadiness. With a touch of honey and fresh green apples. There's a touch of cologne, aftershave, raspberries and pine. But then you get some lime zest, oven baked beetroot, dry soil, and lychee. Try them out. And immediately you get chocolate notes mingling with raisins. It has the dry characteristic of Fino sherry and an earthiness reminiscent of a forest floor. Malty, fruity, and lightly spiced notes. There's a medium light body with apple juice and calvados, followed by soft vanilla, honey, malt, and a prominent background of lemon zestiness with persistent spearmint bite that lingers throughout. The flavours are upfront and flavourful, but it's a youthful dram for sure. It's very vibrant, but some of the nuances are tempered by a touch of sharpness, hints of burnt toast and bitter coffee undertones. You get the taste of ginger tea, followed by a touch of rhubarb and marmite, and there's unsweetened iced tea here. And the finish is long and lingering with gentle baking spices that complement notes of green sultanas and candy. And then you get some green apple tea, light pastry character, and some toasted malt. and it fades into a background of subtle mossy earthiness and a whisper of bitter espresso. I'll try 5 drops of water in this. And the nose turns creamier with a drizzle of caramel. I do get hints of sawdust emerging. And that aftershave has evolved into a sort of floral, pleasant, perfume like aroma. And there's notes of pineapple upside down cake. We'll try them out. We get notes of wet paper, accompanied by a bitter grapefruit. And with water, it's accentuated the dry soil note, but it introduces a pleasant lemony tone and a fleeting hint of vanilla at the back end. So it's rather long to finish with water. Tobacco, prune, and blackberry. You know, it's an interesting whiskey, but it doesn't quite fully hit the mark for me. It's not the harmonious symphony of flavors I was hoping for. It's a bit disjointed. The cask mixture has done a good job of covering up the youthfulness of the spirit, but it can't quite hide everything. It's not the most sophisticated or mature dram yet, but it is full of charm and character, and the dominant notes of rye bread and unsweetened green apple tea is quite enjoyable and seems to be becoming a bit of a signature for Holyrood. It's only a shame that while I sense the distillate has more to offer, the sharpness of its youth slightly obscures the full potential of the Holyrood spirit. Nonetheless, the potential is undeniable, and I eagerly anticipate future releases from them. So, cleanse our palate whilst we move on to our last dram. So, this final dram is the Holyrood Ambir, Ambir, bottled at 49.8%. Holyrood Distillery celebrated its 5th birthday with the launch of this single malt whiskey, Ambir. It follows Holyrood's Distillery's sold out inaugural whiskey Arrival and its peated whiskey Embra. Through each of its limited releases, Holyrood wants to showcase a different flavour profile or style. And Ambir is a showcase of specialty malts like Crystal 240 and Caramel. It was matured in both first fill and second fill bourbon cask together with Spanish Oloroso butt and hogshead. Bottled at 49.8%, and again non-chill filtered and no artificial colour. The name Ambir comes from the rich amber colour of the liquid, adding a Scots twist to reflect this relationship between old and new, to symbolise how Holyrood incorporates traditional practices with modern thinking. So it has nice tears on it. Yeah, you get a lot of caramel in this one. Creamy fudge, demerara sugar, and Scottish tablet, which is a uniquely Scottish fudge. A bit softer than fudge, more sugary. There's some malty notes and a sort of dried red sherry coated in pearly chocolate, like the Mon Chéri brand. Red currants, raspberries, but it remains light. There's creamy caramel, shortbread biscuits, buttered rusks, Spanish bread, and a dash of caramelized vanilla, and a few drops of lemon there. Try them out. Lots of red fruits, vanilla, and cornflakes. It's very solid with strong vegetal notes, softened by molasses and melted chocolate. And there's a little pepper on the tip of the tongue. And you get a lovely biscuity, velvety texture on the finish, mouth-watering, with a little hint of savoury at the end. So it's a relatively long finish. Orchard fruits, juicy pear, and muscat grapes. I'm going to try 5 drops of water in this. And I get dried grapes, figs, orange liqueur, a bit of pineapple, and cane honey. It's pretty and it's gentle. We'll try this on the mouth. And it becomes with water more like or a bit more like an American malt, heavily influenced by the cask, and getting the spice now, cinnamon, grey pepper, bitter coffee, dark chocolate, gingerbread, and cloves. And the finish is very long. Spicy, quite woody, dark tea, overstewed tea, and orange peels in the aftertaste. You know, with this one, there is quality and the mouth and the finish hold up. The nose is still a little timid. So, you know, 4 drams, introducing Holyrood. Holyrood is a very experimental distillery. It adjusts the yeast, barley, fermentation times, and distilling techniques. All the whiskies sampled here are very young, as is the distillery, but nonetheless, the potential is undeniable, and I eagerly anticipate future releases from Holyrood Distillery.